The sun lifted slowly over the plains of La Mancha, spreading waves of gold across dry earth and silent fields. A breeze stirred the dust, carrying with it the distant sound of hooves, steady, rhythmic, determined. At the heart of that sound rode an aging man wearing armor too old for the century he lived in, yet polished with pride. Don Quixote de la Mancha, self-made knight, dream chaser, and worshipper of impossible glories. His lance rested firmly under his arm, rusted yet held like a precious royal weapon, gleaming where the sun touched chipped metal. His horse, the faithful and fragile Rocinante, moved with tired grace, bones visible beneath skin, but spirit unbroken. Just behind them rode Sancho Panza, loyal squire, belly full, mind cautious, heart conflicted, riding a humble donkey yet bound to Quixote by loyalty, curiosity, and hope for reward. Together they rode onward, not for destination, but for destiny. The road stretched forward like a promise, wide and endless. Don Quixote spoke with grand gestures, his voice filled with passion, strong enough to drown reality. He described towering castles he believed they would soon reach, maidens who would beg for rescue, and giants whose defeat would win eternal fame. Sancho listened with mixed awe and disbelief. Sometimes he smiled at his master's courage, other times he sighed at the madness glowing in those determined eyes. The land was quiet except for wind across dry grass. Yet in Quixote's mind there were drums of war, blowing horns, banners snapping like thunder. Ordinary farms became fortresses, abandoned mills turned to enemy watchtowers, and every shadow hid a miracle or threat. Sancho tried occasionally to interrupt, to suggest rest or food or simply caution. But Don Quixote barely slowed. His world was not the one others saw. He did not travel through Spain. He traveled through legend, through dream, through story. At noon they reached a crossroads where four trails met. Dust swirled like mist, shimmering in heat. Don Quixote halted and lifted his gaze dramatically toward the sky, as though waiting for divine instruction. "Every great knight," he said solemnly, "must choose the road destiny wishes for him." Sancho scratched his beard, looked at the roads with practical eyes, and suggested whichever had shade or promise of water. But Quixote raised one gauntleted hand. He claimed he felt the pull of fate, the whisper of unseen forces guiding his journey. He chose the roughest, loneliest road, of course, the one no traveler preferred. And so they turned, dust curling behind them like a cloak. Hours passed beneath blistering light. Sancho's stomach rumbled, his water skin lightened, yet Quixote's energy only grew stronger, born not from strength of body, but from strength of belief. His faith in knighthood was brighter than sun, sharper than his lance, deeper than exhaustion. Later, upon a distant horizon, figures appeared, travelers on horses and mules, moving together in a slow caravan. Quixote's eyes lit like fire. To him they were not merchants, but nobles, perhaps envoys of kingdoms, perhaps prisoners under enchantment, perhaps villains in disguise. "Sancho," he declared, pointing his lance, "adventure approaches." Sancho tensed. He had seen this spark before, the spark that turned peace into chaos. He asked gently whether they might simply greet the travelers, ask news or directions. But Don Quixote was already preparing his speech, rehearsing as one rehearses lines before a grand audience. They approached the travelers, who stopped at the sight of a knight raising his weapon. Dust hung between them like stage curtain, waiting to part for drama. Quixote announced himself with authority far grander than his battered armor could justify, demanding honor for himself and for Dulcinea del Toboso, his imagined lady of unmatched beauty, queen of his heart, though she knew nothing of her knighthood. The merchants blinked, uncertain whether to laugh or bow. One stepped forward politely, speaking with careful tone, explaining they did not know Dulcinea but meant no disrespect. Don Quixote's pride trembled. To doubt Dulcinea was to wound him deeper than sword could. He ordered them to declare her the finest woman on earth, without question, without proof, without hesitation. His voice rose like storm, eyes bright with feverish conviction. The merchants exchanged glances. One attempted diplomacy. He said he would gladly praise the lady if only Quixote could show her portrait or describe her virtues in detail. Disaster. To Quixote, this was insult disguised as reason. He believed proof was not necessary. Faith should be enough. His temper ignited. He charged forward with reckless courage, Rocinante leaping into a run more hopeful than strong. Dust exploded beneath hooves. Sancho cried out, knowing what fate awaited. But once Don Quixote charged, no force could halt him. The attack ended almost as soon as it began. Rocinante stumbled, legs tangled, and Don Quixote flew forward like a thrown spear. He hit the ground in a burst of metal and dust. His lance shattered, his pride cracked like the armor around him. The merchants recoiled, startled and slightly amused. Some suggested helping him, others suggested leaving quickly before madness grew violent. In the end, they continued on, their laughter fading with distance. Sancho hurried to his fallen master, kneeling beside him, whispering comfort and frustration in equal measure. "Master," he sighed, "the world is not as you dream it." Quixote groaned, trying to rise. Pain flooded his limbs, yet imagination shielded him better than steel. He believed this fall was test, trial, proof of stubborn honor. Defeat meant nothing. Victory lived in perseverance. He swore he would one day triumph, and Dulcinea would glory in his deeds. Sancho saw no sense in it, yet admired it against his will. They rested by a stream, where Sancho washed wounds with gentle hands. Don Quixote spoke between breaths of future conquests, giants to slay, kingdoms to free. The fall had not tamed him, it had fed him. As evening descended, birds crossed the sky in wide arcs, and the plains cooled into soft bronze shadows. They built a small fire, its glow flickering against dusty armor. Sancho ate bread and onions, grateful for simple food. Don Quixote refused supper, claiming knights should feast only on glory and purpose. He stared into the flames as one stares into prophecy. "Sancho," he whispered, "we are chosen." Sancho responded with tired smile. Chosen for hunger, maybe. Chosen for trouble, certainly. Yet he remained. Loyalty is strange. It binds not through logic, but through heart. The stars sharpened overhead like silver needles. Quixote lay awake inside thoughts too loud for sleep, dreaming not of rest, but of dawn. Sancho tried desperately to explain, windmills, not monsters, but Quixote heard only destiny. His pulse thundered, his dreams howled through him like storm. He leveled his new lance, reinforced hastily with rope and blind faith. Rocinante pawed earth. Quixote prayed aloud, voice trembling yet victorious before battle even began. Then he charged, wind screamed, hooves beat thunder. Sancho shouted warnings swallowed by distance. The windmill turned fast, blades slicing air. Don Quixote thrust his lance at imagined giant chest. Wood met wood, splintered violently, and the next rotation struck him. He flew, body spinning like loose banner. Armor rang like bells as he crashed to broken earth, breath ripped from lungs. Silence followed except wind and Sancho's frantic footsteps. Yet Don Quixote smiled through pain, claiming giant fell through sorcery, turned to windmill in last moment. To him, defeat proved battle was real, magic was powerful, and he must fight harder. They traveled slower after that. Each step of Rocinante carried ache. Each word of Quixote carried stubborn hope. Sancho's patience stretched thin, but never snapped. He questioned gently why a man would chase illusions.
Don Quixote answered without hesitation. Because a dream, believed with courage, becomes truth. He spoke of Dulcinea, radiant, noble, perfect, though in reality she was simple farm girl who never asked for pedestal. Yet Quixote adored her as symbol of everything pure. He dreamed not of her face, but of what she represented: love unbroken by doubt, beauty untouched by world, reason to rise each morning even when bones begged to rest. Sancho understood then. Maybe dreams kept Quixote alive more than food or water. Maybe madness was armor protecting heart too tender for harsh reality. And so he stopped trying to cure him, and instead tried only to keep him safe.
One evening they reached a humble inn Quixote believed was enchanted fortress. Lantern lights flickered like torches. Guests laughed like courtly nobles in feast hall. He insisted on being received as knight. The innkeeper played along, amused, offering mock ceremony. Quixote knelt, trembling with joy, believing this night sacred. The night he received true knighthood. Sancho watched, unsure whether to laugh or cry. Later, in courtyard, Don Quixote kept vigil over arms as tradition demanded. Moonlight washed armor, pale silver, shadows stretched long across ground like memories. When drunk mule drivers disturbed him, he defended arms with fury, striking wildly. Chaos erupted, shouting, buckets thrown, fists swung. By dawn, Quixote was bruised, but triumphant. He believed trial complete. He left inn convinced knights now walked world anew because he existed among them. Days passed, fields rolled like ocean, skies changed like mood. Sancho grew wiser in madness, and madness grew wiser in Sancho. Sometimes they found kindness, shepherd offering milk, widow offering shade, and Quixote treated each gift like tribute to royalty. Other times they found trouble, thieves mocking, boys throwing stones, but Quixote faced insults as night faces dragons. With dignity no wound could steal. Sancho saw world through two eyes, one ordinary, one magical through Quixote's. He began to wonder if truth might live somewhere between. Perhaps giants were windmills, yes. But perhaps windmills held giant meaning to those who dared believe. One night storm rolled black across sky, rain hammered earth like drum, thunder roared like war. Quixote lifted his face to storm, declaring heaven tested him. Sancho shivered under cloak, wishing for roof instead of glory. Lightning lit plains white as bone, winds screamed through grass, yet Quixote remained unshaken, reciting vows of knighthood above rumbling sky. He dreamt aloud of saving kingdoms, defeating armies, and earning Dulcinea's eternal smile. His voice defied thunder, his dreams defied night. Sancho admired him then, not for victory, but for spirit, unbreakable as legend. Storm passed, dawn rose like flame, air smelled clean, reborn. They rode through fields washed in silver dew. Don Quixote felt renewed, rebaptized by hardship. He said storm proved worthiness, carved courage deeper into soul. Sancho nodded softly. Though exhausted, he too felt changed, shaped by journey not chosen but embraced. They spoke not only of battles but of peace, of laughter between suffering, of simple happiness found beside fire, beneath stars, in companionship stronger than reason. Sancho no longer followed for profit alone. He followed because story needed witness. As sun hung high once more, plains stretched endless ahead. Don Quixote rode proudly, armor scarred but spirit shining like fresh forged steel. Sancho rode beside him, not behind, equal in journey now. The world around them remained ordinary, windmills still mills, merchants still merchants. But through Quixote's eyes everything shimmered with meaning. He knew he might fall again, fight illusion again, bleed for dreams unseen, but he also knew purpose burned brighter than pain. He pressed onward toward adventures unwritten, giants yet to transform, kingdoms waiting only for belief. For a man who sees world not as it is, but as it could be, defeat is only chapter, never ending. So they continued, two travelers bound not by reality, but by hope, riding into future where madness and glory walked hand in hand, beneath sky big enough for both dreams and truth. And thus his story rode onward, never finished, forever alive,